Parallel and perpendicular lines. So our three vocab, at least two of them are probably going to be familiar to you. Our first one is parallel lines. So these are two lines that never meet. Okay, they'll go on forever and never meet. If they're on a coordinate plane, they have the same slope. Okay, if you have two lines that have the same slope but they overlap, those are not parallel, they're the same line. Okay. Perpendicular lines are when you have one line that forms a 90-degree angle with another line. Okay, and another part to that is they only meet at one point. Okay, all right. And the last vocabulary term is a transversal. Okay, and a transversal is simply any line that intersects two or more lines. Okay, so you can have a transversal going this way, you can have a perpendicular transversal, it can go that way, it can be a really shallow, line, or a line with a really shallow slope, but it's going to intersect at least two other lines. Okay, and there's something we can do with a transversal. There's some things we can tell about angles, which is going to lead us into our first concept, which is identifying those congruent angles that are formed with a transversal. So if we just have this situation, we have one line intersecting another. Okay, we know from our last lesson that these two angles are going to be congruent, right? These are vertical angles, and we know that these two angles are going to be congruent. Okay, that's useful, and the reason we know this goes back to supplementary. Okay, this is a straight line, and so if this angle and this angle add up to equal that straight line, it's going to be 180 degrees, and that means they're supplementary. And you can see that these two are supplementary. These two are also supplementary. They're supplementary on this purple line. Okay, these two are supplementary on the black line. These two are supplementary on the purple line. Okay, so that's really where that knowledge that these two angles are equal comes from, is from the fact that they're supplementary. Okay, now when we expand that out to having a transversal with two parallel lines, there's some information we know about all of these angles. Okay, and it comes from, again, it all comes from the fact that they are supplementary angles. All right, but we know that this angle, oh, I switched it up. I'll go back. Use green. Okay, this acute angle and this acute angle are the same, right? And this angle and this angle are the same. Okay, so we know that these two are equal, and we know that these two are equal because this is a parallel, a set of parallel lines. These two angles are going to be equal because we basically have the same situation, right? If I took and drew a little box around here, okay, and drew a little box around here, they're the exact same. Okay, I could move it and overlap, and it would overlap completely. Okay, the angles are going to be the same size. All right, let's get rid of those. So, what we call this, and kind of the way we talk about this is, not yellow. These two angles, right here and right here, are called alternate interior angles. Okay, they're called interior because they're inside, or they're between the two parallel lines, and they're alternate because they're on either side of the transversal. Okay, this one's on the inside of a parallel line and above the transversal. This one's on the inside of the parallel line and below the transversal. Okay, alternate interior angles are congruent. Okay? Same thing for alternate exterior angles. This is below the transversal and outside of the parallel lines. This is above the transversal and outside of the parallel lines. So these two angles are alternate exterior and they are equal. Okay? And then we have corresponding lines, or corresponding angles. Okay? So if we, again, draw that little box, okay, angles that correspond with each other, meaning they're in the same place, are going to be equal. So if I numbered these 1, 2, 3, 4, angle 1 and angle 2 are corresponding. Okay? Angle 3 and angle 4 are also corresponding. Angle 1 and angle 3 are alternate exterior angles, and angle 2 and angle 4 are alternate interior angles. Okay? And basically, because we know these are all equal to each other, or equal to another angle, we know that they're all equal to each other. Same goes for the obtuse angles. They're also going to be corresponding, have alternate exterior and alternate interior angles.